taking a look at the world, taking a wide-angled look at the world, we have a narrowed focus, or whatever we can see. We don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I have some of the answers that I need, some that I want, some that I didn't want, some that I was seeking, some that I am still seeking. I have the answers. They're all right in front of me. I have everything I need, so to speak. Now, some people are going to have questions that they will never find the answers to, ever. They'll never have the answers for those questions. And then they'll think, oh, I found the answer to this question, or I found the answers to all of these questions, or this answer answers all of these questions to this question. But what it does is, it really, at the end, or you might come to a second spot on that same question later, it comes up, and you realize, well, wait a minute. I don't have the answer for that question at all. What I have, or what I had, was an idea, something that I wanted to be an answer, but it was not an answer. It was just something that I wanted. And so, if this is an answer, that is still an answer. It doesn't mean it's correct for the answer to the question, as you would have realized. But it does mean that it is an answer. Most questions are going to be like this. How am I going to pay my phone bill? What am I going to wear to church? Where will I go to the movies? And what movies will I see? And so on and so forth. And again, how much money is in my bank account? That kind of stuff. But then every now and then, a question will come up that is, what am I here for? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? How did I get here? And where am I going? And what does it all mean? And why? And who cares? And that's it. Who cares? What does it matter? Why even ask? Most people are going to ask, what can I get out of it? If they're normal. This is normal human behavior. To see, to look for how I can benefit from this. How can I benefit? What's in it for me? Again, what's in it for me? How can I advance? How does this advance me? And ours, if you were going to take it out from there, then you go into from being the individual to the group or the nation or the city or the state, so to speak, or the church. Or the church organization or the auxiliary group or the woman's auxiliary group or whatever. The service organization. And then all of this has to do with translation of what you're looking for and how to get that. Translation into this. What are you looking for? And then how can I help you find that? If that's your primary questionnaire, or way of questioning, or line of questioning, or line of question thought, or line of thinking is, what am I doing here? Where did I come from? And where am I going? And what does it all mean? If it means anything. And why? Again, most people you meet on the street, average person is not going to want to strike up a conversation about what am I doing here, where did I come from, and what does it all mean. They're going to want to talk about the latest, whatever, original Netflix streaming, whatever, movie or whatever. Most people aren't going to want to talk about what are we doing here, how did we get here, what are we doing here, why are we here, what's the purpose. They're going to want to talk about whose side is winning, who's in charge, which side is winning. Is it my team or your team, their team or our team, our zip code or their zip code? It's all about whose team is winning. And if that's what it's all about for you, then so be it. Some people, that's what it's all about. It's all about whose team is winning. And other people, it's all about what am I doing here? And how do I find my place to fit into this, whatever it is, this roadmap of where I'm at? I need to find my way. And so they begin to search and look and think in terms of, what am I doing here? Where did I come from and where am I going and what does it all mean? And so they start looking at things that'll tell them that. And they start looking for meaning of that kind in everything that they do and see and experience. And they do find that meaning. And they'll look at this in movies and they'll see it in books, shirts, tapes, and all of this kind of stuff. It can come in many forms. It doesn't have to be in one way, one form. People can find things that give themselves meaning in a lot of different ways, and they can find meaning that can help them find meaning in many different ways, in themselves, for themselves, in ways that will help themselves. People can find meaning in many different ways. And it doesn't have to be only in one way. There's different ways to look for meaning. There's different ways to find meaning. Not every single person you meet is going to be the same way of thinking, even though they might vote the same way and they might go to the same church. Or maybe they don't even go to church. Or they don't vote at all. Or whatever. But the point is, you're going to have every flavor, every stripe, every color, every race of every ethnic group and all of this stuff, however you want to say it. Nationality, national border, whatever it is, wherever it is you come from. And everyone's going to have some question about something. Sometimes it's going to be whose team is winning. And other times it's going to be where do I fit in? And it doesn't matter whose team is winning. And this is a foreign way of thinking to me. Whose team is winning? Who's losing? That I can't think like that. That's not how I think. Now, some people, that is how they think, and that's not the way I think. I'm just not into that. But if that's you, if that's how you do it, great. I'm not that way. Some people are that way, and that's great. Good for them. They'll be able to find their way along their journey in life. I'm sure that they will find their way the best they can, as I'm finding my way the best way I can. But everybody is looking for something. They want answers. They're looking for answers to something, whether it's how much for the price, how much for a dozen eggs, or what is a gallon of gas, or where am I going to get my next meal, or how can I afford to feed my family while also at the same time afford to put a roof over their heads. These are challenging questions for a lot of people to try to answer. And these are people that have serious needs. These aren't just theories people are joking around about or tossing about. People are actually asking serious questions as to where can I find an answer to this? They're looking for answers. And the question is not, do people have questions, or do you have a question, or do I have a question? The question is, what is, or where can I find the answers? Because some people, they're going to go their whole life, they're going to be asking the same questions over and over, and they're never going to find any answers. And I don't know why that is. I can't understand it, why some people get the answers that they seek and other people don't. Maybe it's a matter of luck. Maybe it's a matter of the hand of providence. Or maybe it's all real, and maybe it's all make-believe. But I will say this. If you are seeking, you will find. And that has been my experience. Now, whether that is correlative in terms of a time manner in which something will happen, in which something else happened previously, and so on and so forth, in which I would say we could describe this agreed on as an aligned series of coincidences. So great. And then I leaned into all of these in one way or the other, random factors at play, and factors led to wherever I am today. So hey, what a coincidence. I ended up here. And then, of course, that's where you come up with this. How did I get here? Wow. And then you can make up any story that you want and believe any story that you want. And this is done based on your information, everything you have already in your life, your data bank, so to speak. And this is not a mystery as to whether or not this is true. We all know this is true. Everybody has in their life, or everyone's life rather, is their life, of factors. This is made up of factors. And everyone will see the world and encounter the world through this ongoing series of factors, if you want to call them a series of factors, as in a series of aligned coincidences. But I am saying, in my opinion, as I choose to see it, as I choose to see the world, that is not how the world works. So this might be called a non-spiritual coincidence, and how that works exactly, you can read all about it. I'll link the papers there. And the non-spiritual coincidence, of course, is this occurrence that happens, but it's without the hand of a divine providential being, or without the hand of God, if you will. This will have to do with coincidence, as you might see it, but also how I move into events that are possibly unfamiliar to me and maybe even not preferred. And this is a way of seeing it. It's all about coincidence, accidents. And then what are my choices? What are my decisions? I can choose to have a good attitude or a bad attitude. I can. And you can. If you're paying attention to this, you can. If you're not paying attention to this, you need to just keep paying attention to this. And you will have a good attitude if you choose to have a good attitude. It's not a pill that you take or a button that you push. It fixes everything and all problems. It is a decision that you make to have a good attitude. You can choose your attitude. You can have a good attitude or you can have a bad attitude. And when I say you, I mean me. This starts with me. I have to do this first. All of this. And this isn't a motivation or self-help guide or step. Or if you do these things, this is going to happen. That is not this. Let me tell you what this is. This is you making a choice to have a good attitude. And you know the difference between a good attitude and having a bad attitude. Yeah, you know the difference between those. You know the difference between good attitude and bad attitude. And you can have a good attitude and you can have a bad attitude for various reasons, at different times. But the question is, what will you choose to have? And you can go into all of the wins and the whys and all that, the whys. But the question is, yeah, you could talk about all that, the whys, when you meet with your psychoanalyst and therapist and all that later. But when you're in the middle of something, you just need to ask yourself one question. What am I trying to accomplish here? And what do I need? And sometimes you just need to move forward, get past whatever it is that you're trying to figure out. You make a decision. I'm going to have a good attitude about this. I'm going to accept this as it is. It's not what I prefer. It's not fair. It indicates the exact opposite of everything I want to be and hope to be and wish to be and believed before that it was actually true. And now this thing has blown it all to bits. But I've just got to have it as part of what it is, as part of how life is now. And I'll deal with it as life is, as life has thrown it at me, or as I've encountered it, however you want to deal with it, say it. Or as God has allowed it or caused it to be, however you want to put it. And then just accept it. But then work where you can to have a good attitude. The best attitude you can have under the circumstances, or in the circumstances, so to speak. And using any language or frame of thinking that you want to or can that will help you have a better attitude. So you can refresh your thinking with, or rather refresh yourself with, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you glad. And I'm talking about positive things that are healthy, all things equal. Not something that will cause other people harm. Like, well, I would be happy if these people got what was coming to them, or it would make me happy if that person really got what was coming to him, or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about doing good in a way that is thinking good in a way rather that is in a way that is doing good, where you're taking your mind and you're practicing something good rather than a negative in the reverse of where you want to be, where you want to go. And that's what it is, to have a good attitude versus a bad attitude. So let's say somebody really deserves something good and they got something bad. And that made you mad, it made you angry. And that's normal to feel that way. Maybe it was you. Maybe you should have got something good and you got something bad. For whatever reason. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe it was somebody treated you unfairly on purpose. Whatever it was. It could have been some really bad traumatic event. I don't know. You'll have to deal with a lot of this. I'm not trying to trigger anybody. But whatever it is. Now, you're going to feel a certain way, and that's normal. If it's bad, you might say, well, I don't want to be angry. That's having a bad attitude. Well, it doesn't mean that's having a bad attitude. What it means is you might be just need to take a break and revisit the situation in a little while. It's okay to take a break. You don't have to be on the wall all the time, on guard all the time, checking your pulse and checking the levels under the engine hood, under the hood and all those. And how am I doing? Is this a good attitude? Is this a bad attitude? And did I do all of the steps I was supposed to have? And blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, you joined a church. And then you're really screwed up. Man, then you're really in bad shape. So, I'm not here to tell you that you should or shouldn't do these things, or rather that if you do these steps, this is going to cure you of however you see having a bad attitude. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, this is true. You can choose to have a good attitude, or you can choose to have a bad attitude. And it is up to you what you choose. It's up to you. Totally. Now, it's up to you. I hope it is. Because you're the one that's watching this, paying attention to this, listening to this. And if this is you, if that is you, this is you then. You can choose because you're choosing now. And if you couldn't choose, you would probably not be listening to this. Or now that you've listened to this, you're going to listen to it again, and now you maybe are listening to it again, and you're going to do everything you can to have a good attitude. But you can choose, and I can choose. Now, what choice that will be, how that will look, what maybe that might entail as far as a choice you make or choice I make on a daily basis, given any situation, whether that's at a yard sale, as we might see come across, or you go to a church and maybe you didn't like the pastor, or you didn't like the way they had their signs put up, or whatever, or didn't like the kind of music they had, or maybe they just didn't include you the way you wanted them to, and then you really hurt about that, and you really feel bad, and so you want to take revenge. And I would say that's a bad attitude. I think it's better to let that idea of revenge go. That would be having a good attitude. This first step is let it go. And the next step is try to find something. Don't try to find something. Do find something to get busy and engaged in that will be of a positive nature. Again, to do no harm, but to be positive, to uplift, to help, to motivate, starting with yourself. And then, of course, finally, find a daily practice of some kind to rejuvenate yourself. Put yourself first and keep yourself in a cycle of positive thinking, positive intake of nutrition, and then also a daily, I will use the term regimen of, let's say vitamin regimen and reading books. What are you reading? What books are you putting into your mind? What are you putting into your mind? What is influencing you? And what and how are you influencing? Who are you influencing? You know, people would say, man, I have so many people, they come up to me and they want to know, did you see what so-and-so did? Did you see what so-and-so did? And they're talking about people that I've never met, that they've never met. No, they've never met them, but they might meet. And that, I'm sure, are very nice people. But friends, I'm not here to talk about anybody else that might be influencing you. Except here I am influencing you. What I want to talk about is, what are you doing now to influence? How are you influencing? Who are you influencing? And how? And what is that all about? Everybody's got a reason. Everyone has a role. Whether it's you know it, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you act like it or not. Everybody has a role to play. You have some part to play, and they will perform that role, ultimately. And in the end, whatever it is, their life or whatever it is you want to call it, we will know what role that is, or now as we see the end of their life, that was. And then you'll have this at a lot of people's funerals, and they'll leave, somebody will give a eulogy or something, and they'll say, oh, this person was a blah, 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 thus and so man or a woman or a lady. Or, you know, horrible tragedy when a child is lost that way and you have to go to a funeral of a child. That's really tough. But mostly, we're not going to go that way. Mostly, and then sometimes you got to change directions for various reasons. Remember, there's a lot to this. Not all of it is cut and dry, simple mathematics, push a button here, that happens there. Rub a magic lamp and a genie appears. Talk to a magic invisible man in the sky and X, Y, and or Z will happen or not happen based on if you do or did the right steps or wore the right clothing and whatever. But this is to say that many people are looking for answers, and including me. And I am always looking for answers. I am reading the books. I am searching the books. I am looking for answers. Now, depending on the book you read, depending on which versions, of course, also, you will get different answers. Now, according to the Bible, and this is the King James Bible only, I'm only talking about that book. You might be talking about another book. And if you are, then that's fine. Good for you. I'm only talking about one book here. And if we're talking about another book, maybe today or another time, then it'll be different. But today, I'm talking about one book, one thing, the Bible, and this message. There is no other name under heaven given among men. Oh, and that's the King James Bible. Given among men whereby we must be saved. And that name we're talking about is the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And so, today, if we're going to talk about one book and one thing from that book, it would be this: that Jesus saves, and that is based on this book, the Bible. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. People are looking for answers. They have questions. They're looking for answers. And some of these questions look like answers to some people, and some of these answers are just more questions. And so that's it. What is your question? And what are your answers to those questions? And if you have any, maybe you might want to share those with the rest of us.